If you've ever tried to learn about investing, you know how it feels. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose, right? There's just so much information, so much jargon, and so many people telling you different things. So, today we're going to cut through all that noise. This is your clear, step-by-step roadmap for learning how to invest the right way.
Yeah, it's a question pretty much everyone asks. You read the articles, you watch the news, but you still walk away feeling like you're missing something fundamental. Well, you're not alone, and it turns out there's a really specific reason why it feels so confusing.
And this, right here, this is the core of the problem. We often try to learn about investing the same way we learn about, say, history. We kind of skim a bunch of stuff, we read broadly, and we hope that eventually it all just clicks. But here's the thing, investing isn't a humanity. It's a technical skill, a lot more like medicine. You can't just skim medical journals and expect to know how to perform surgery, right? You have to learn the fundamentals step by step, or the whole thing falls apart. This is what we call a learning expectation error, and it is the single biggest reason so many people just give up. So here's the game plan for today. We're going to map out the correct path. We'll start by digging into that common mistake, and then we're going to walk through 4 clear stages, from the complete novice to the beginner, then to the competent amateur investor, and finally, we'll touch on what it takes to go down the professional path. All right, let's dive into that crucial mistake, because really getting this one idea will save you, and I'm not kidding, years of frustration. This learning expectation error, this is the whole key. It's the reason you can read financial news for years and still feel totally lost. You're using the wrong tools for the job. It's like trying to build a house with a history book instead of a hammer and nails. To learn a technical skill, you absolutely need a technical, systematic approach. Okay, so if that's the mistake, what's the right way to start? For a complete novice, I'm talking ground zero, you know nothing, the answer is probably not what you think. It's not about burying yourself in a stack of books. For the absolute novice, the fastest way to learn is to just jump right in. Step 1, open a brokerage account and start trading with a small amount of money. And I mean an amount you're totally okay with losing. Step 2, every single time you see a word or a concept you don't get, like PE ratio, K-line, whatever, you stop and you look it up. That's it. You're learning on the fly, plugging the holes in your knowledge as you find them. It sounds a little chaotic, I know, but this method works so well for 2 really powerful reasons. First, it gives you the maximum possible exposure to information. Suddenly, things like interest rate hikes and corporate mergers aren't just abstract headlines, they're directly affecting you. And second, there is no greater motivation to learn than having your own money, your own skin, in the game. It's kind of like this. When do people learn the most about medicine? Well, it's usually when they get sick. The same principle is at play here. For a novice, losing a little bit of money isn't a failure. Think of it as tuition. It's the fee for the most effective lesson you will ever get. Now, once you can pick up a financial article and you actually understand, say, at least half of it, congrats. You've officially graduated from novice to beginner. And this is a really critical moment because your learning strategy has to do a complete 180. The learn-as-you-go approach that got you here won't get you to the next level. Okay, listen up, because this is the #1 trap that beginners fall into. They see one of those top 10 investing books lists, they order a copy of some legendary, dense book, and they crack it open thinking they've found the Holy Grail. But it's not the path to enlightenment. It's a direct path to burnout. And that's because these books are basically graduate-level textbooks. This quote says it all. Reading them now is like trying to understand an advanced philosopher like Kant without knowing the first thing about philosophy. You won't absorb the wisdom, you'll just get a massive headache and quit. I've seen it happen so many times. So instead of trying to tackle the classics, this is where you build your foundation, systematically. You need to focus on 4 pillars of knowledge. 1, basic financial accounting. You've got to learn how to read a financial statement. 2, valuation methods. How do you figure out what a stock or a bond is actually worth? 3, the key macroeconomic concepts. And 4, economic and market history, but with a focus on the real data, not just the stories. So once you've put in the work and you've built a solid foundation in those 4 areas, you cross this huge threshold. You're not just a beginner anymore. You are a competent amateur investor. And this is where things get really, really interesting. Now is the time to pick up that first classic. And the perfect one to start with is Benjamin Graham's The Intelligent Investor. And why this one? Because unlike his other, way more technical work, Graham specifically wrote this book for the everyday, non-professional investor. With the foundation you've built, its lessons will finally click into place.
This is such a key point. We all know the story, right? Warren Buffett read this book at 19 and it changed his life. But here's the part everybody forgets. By the time he was 19, Buffett had already spent years buying stocks, running businesses, and just living and breathing the market. He already had the foundation. The book didn't just give him the knowledge, it gave him the framework to organize all the knowledge he already had.
So what does success even look like at this stage? Well, with this kind of systematic approach, a goal of around a 20% annualized return, that's not a pipe dream. It actually becomes achievable. This isn't gambling anymore. This is investing. Look, reaching the amateur investor stage is a massive win. And honestly, for 99% of people, that's the perfect place to be. The fourth and final stage, the professional path, that is a completely different beast. It requires a level of commitment that just isn't necessary or practical for most of us. And this breakdown just lays it out so clearly. The amateur's goal is to basically match the market's average return. That's called beta. The professional's goal is to beat the market, to generate an outsized return, which we call alpha. They are playing two completely different games with different tools and totally different expectations. And winning that professional game, wow, it requires an incredible amount of work. We're talking expert-level accounting skills, years of industry research, and most importantly, hands-on due diligence. That means actually visiting companies, grilling the management team. It's just like surgery. You can watch 1,000 videos, but you don't really learn until you're in the operating room. It's a full-time job and then some. And that brings us to maybe the most important takeaway of all. For most of us, the ambition shouldn't be to become a professional investor. The real goal, the life-changing goal, is to move from being a novice, who is basically gambling, to becoming a competent amateur investor who makes smart, systematic decisions. That skill alone is absolutely transformative. So you've seen the map, from day one all the way to true competence. The only question left is, where do you fit in? Take an honest look at these stages. Where are you on this journey right now, and what's the one thing you need to do next to take that next step?